Hello, Stuart here, the Unrepentant Atheist. Welcome to my channel. This is my weekly slot for talking about the line, reviewing the line, the Matt Dillahunty line for Sunday evening. I listened to it this morning, Monday, and I made notes. I'm going to be talking about most of the calls and really any issues which occur in the meantime whilst discussing the calls. If anybody makes comments in chat, I sometimes can bring those in if it's relevant to what I'm talking about. But before I do that, one or two things. First of all, the live stream which I did last week, unfortunately, YouTube actually, what did they do? They deleted it. Why did they delete it? Well, I'm going to talk about this shortly because I've only just started this video. So, oh, what the heck? Last week, I talked about a call that came in on the line, and it was a call about this. I'm having to write it down. This is what we've got to. This is where we've come to with YouTube. It was a call about this. Yeah. I made a video last week. I did a live stream which went out. So the call that Matt Dillahunty had to deal with, or rather, I think it was Matt. Was it Matt? No, it was Skeptics and Scoundrels and Pologia, I think. So somebody called in to talk about this. Yeah, you can read that clearly, can't you? Of course you can. Okay, yeah. So somebody called in to talk about this. And in my video last week, I talked about that call. As a result of that, YouTube deleted my video. Now, you've got to be careful with YouTube. If you use this word, I'll just write this word down. If you use that word on YouTube, you could have your video deleted. That's where the censorship has come to. If you use sensitive words like that, what YouTube are afraid of is that if you use a word like that and somebody actually goes out and does that, their family might come and sue YouTube because that person happened to hear that word on a YouTube video. That's how stupid censorship has become on YouTube, that you can't use certain words, otherwise your video is going to be deleted. And if you use that phrase, if I use that phrase, my video could be deleted. And last week it was deleted, even though I made no controversial statements whatsoever in respect of that. In fact, I didn't. I actually said, I acknowledged they work good. Well done. Well done to the medical world for that. Save the world. Congratulations. I said that last week in my video, and YouTube went ahead and deleted my video because they used a robot to detect certain keywords. Now I've appealed. Of course I've appealed, so I might get that video reinstated. At the moment it's been deleted. I've appealed. They gave a timestamp, and they're so stupid that in the timestamp, I'm not even discussing that topic in the timestamp that they gave. That video goes on for 1.5 hours, and I actually start discussing that topic maybe, I don't know, 1 hour 10 minutes into the video, and they've got it down as something like 51 seconds. They're completely wrong. So when a human being actually decides to review my video because I put an appeal in, all they'll do really is hear that phrase that I was reviewing a call, and on that call there was somebody who was arguing or saying that, for example, this product had been pulled because it produces these. Now, I don't know if that's true at all. I've got absolutely no idea. I was only reporting what he was saying. I wasn't validating it or saying that it's true, and YouTube deleted my video. So obviously I won't be using any of those keywords anymore because there are bots. Who knows? Maybe they've got some artificial intelligence that can read these captions. Well, we'll soon find out. Yeah, so all this censorship, of course, there has to be censorship. I'm not against censorship, but it seems to me that the robots are not really doing a very good job of picking up real misinformation. And I'm against misinformation, of course I am, particularly when it comes to medical matters. But I don't believe that I spread any disinformation in my video last week. So let's hope that my video comes back, actually, because I thought, apart from that, I thought it was quite a good one that I did last week. Okay, so the time here is, let me see, it's 23:36 British summertime, late again. I'm feeling just a little bit tired. I should be able to go on for about an hour before my voice starts to get a bit scratchy and before, I don't know, I start showing signs of being tired. So let's leave that to one side. I hope that video comes back, but we'll see. So what else? I've been watching various things on YouTube throughout the week. One thing I noticed, I get a lot of sort of conversion stories in my YouTube feed, and there are some channels which are devoted to conversions. There was one that caught my eye saying that an evolutionary biologist converted to Christianity from atheism. So naturally, I was interested in this. I went to have a look. I can't remember what the channel was called. I was going to do a video on it, but it looked to me to lack credibility to such an extent. I thought it would be a waste of anybody's time for me to do a video on that one. But essentially, what it was is that there was an elderly man dressed like a professor, and the claim was that he was an actual professor of biology at a certain accredited university in the USA. He'd been an atheist all his life, and one of his students from a biology class came to him during his tutor's hour, and she asked him questions, and these questions stumped him. For example, she asked him, how could it be that through purely random processes, the genetic code comes about? And he said in this interview, I think I'll have to go away and think about that. And then there were one or two other questions which were just completely built on sort of straw man ideas of what evolution really is. And the professor, I think this 20-year-old girl was asking him these questions, and he was sitting at his desk saying, that's a good point. Yeah, I'll have to think about that. How could it have come about purely by nature? And on the basis of this, the story is that this professor converted to Christianity because he couldn't explain how random processes had led to the human genome, DNA, etc. I should have done some more research to find out, because they gave his name to find out whether he was a real professor. I really find it very, very hard to believe that any biologist at all teaching for any university would not be able to answer the questions that she was asking and correct her misunderstandings. And I almost think that it's some kind of setup, some Christian organization trying to get more believers in by just pure deception. Well, I think that one of the Christian fathers, or who was it? Was it Thomas Aquinas, or was it, I don't know who it was, over 1,000 years ago, justified the use of deception to get more Christians in. And it seems to me that this is something which is acceptable. Well, it's not acceptable to me, but in certain Christian circles, it's acceptable to get more into the flock through deception, through manipulation of facts, figures, etc., and twisting of information, misrepresentation of information. Anything goes, as long as you can get more people into the church donating money and kneeling down taking Holy Communion. I've never personally, I mean, I've maybe seen opportunities to put forward my own point of view where I could maybe twist something to convince somebody that I was right about, I don't know, something, but uh, that for me would give me absolutely no satisfaction that I had used some kind of sophistry method to convince somebody that there is no God or that it's not worth believing in God. I'd want to convince people for good reasons, mainly because if you haven't been convinced for good reasons, then your state of atheism could well just be temporary. If you become an atheist for bad reasons, like, for example, you might become an atheist for the reason that, I don't know, your wife and child were killed in a car crash. You might become an atheist for that reason, that, well, God didn't look after you, God wasn't there for you, you lost your wife and child, to hell with religion, I'm going to be an atheist. That's a bad reason for being an atheist, because you're kind of stupidly acknowledging that there is a God there who wasn't there for you. And if you're going to be an atheist for that reason, then you could easily be brought back into theism if you have a fortunate turn of events, to the extent maybe this person who lost his wife and child might meet somebody new. That new person might be a Christian and might have a child with this person and might get back on their feet and think, oh, well, God saw me right in the end. So no, people have got to be deconverted by good sound arguments and proper assessment of the evidence which has been presented for the existence of God, which really is what the line is all about. And I know that they talk about more things on the line than just the existence of God. They talk about politics, they talk about trans issues and snakes and all sorts of things. But sorry, just lost my train of thought there. What was I saying? Oh, forget it. I lost my train of thought because I read somebody's text chat. Let me see. Let me just go through the chats. Jobin is there. Good evening, Jobin. Jobin says, I noticed other creators bleeping themselves on anything remotely controversial. I didn't actually know how intense the censorship gets. Yep. Yeah, I've noticed that as well. I've noticed a lot of bleeps, and I suppose you learn through these experiences. And in my case, because I only run this channel part-time, I haven't really got much time to edit and put bleeps in and all that kind of thing. So I will just avoid using those words in future, because I mean, they've said that they'll give me one chance. One chance is a warning. I think 2 is a final warning, and if you do it a third time, they just delete your channel. So yeah, got to be careful with these things. And it makes me wonder why the line that carried this call was not also penalized. I don't know, maybe it was, and I just don't know about it. Speedy Roman says, glad I caught you doing a live stream. I really enjoy your content. Thank you, Speedy Romans, for saying that. Lee Pitt, greeting from Australia. Great work. Okay. And Lee, just on something unrelated to religion, I'll say congratulations to Australia for excellent performance in the Olympics. It's been some time since Australia finished ahead of Great Britain in the medals table, at least on the gold medal count. But I think that normal order will be restored at the next Olympics. Okay. Let's move on to the calls then. So who called in? Somebody by the name of Hunter called in saying that, well, he's an atheist, and he's saying that his brother is influenced by Jordan Peterson's concept of God and how to respond. And I haven't really made too many notes to this one, but if I was giving advice there, how to respond to somebody that is influenced by Jordan Peterson's concept of God, which is like a kind of figurehead that is there as a, I think Peterson has talked about, there's a pyramid of, say, knowledge and truth. And at the apex of this, there has to be an apex of the pyramid. And whether it's real or whether it's metaphorical, it doesn't really matter too much, but you've got to acknowledge that it's there. And so the apex for him would be this Godhead, God figurehead, which is the basis of all truth and knowledge, and that you have to have that, otherwise truth and knowledge couldn't be reliable at all. You couldn't rely on reason or logic or anything else. Well, I've heard that argument before, and I don't really agree with it. But if I was giving somebody advice on how to tackle or how to deal with that, Jordan Peterson's concept of a God is that I'm personally interested in a real, actual God existing, not a metaphorical God, not some kind of conceptual basis for all reality. I'm interested in an actual entity, nothing else, no metaphors or anything like that. Something which really independently, objectively exists. And I would just make that point to anybody who's arguing from Jordan Peterson's point of view and saying, well, Jordan Peterson hasn't really been 100% clear on where he stands on God, but it seems that he's not a theist in the traditional sense. He's not even a theist in the Spinoza sense or the Einstein sense. He's using this, he's using this sort of conceptual schema as a way of solving a philosophical problem, that we haven't got an ultimate basis for the reality which manifests around us, and for knowledge, for reason, for all these things and all the axioms. We haven't got an ultimate justification for any of those. And it's a philosophical problem, but I don't believe that you can solve it by positing a metaphor or a sort of abstract Godhead. I don't really think that it serves any. I don't really think it serves any useful purpose, because I seem to get by okay with my atheist worldview to the extent that I acknowledge that I haven't got an ultimate grounding for the things which I believe that are true. I haven't, and this is where Darth Dawkins comes in. This is what he'll start off on. What is your grounding? What is your ultimate grounding for all your beliefs? Because if you haven't got an ultimate grounding, then really we can't take anything that you say seriously. I don't really think that's the case. I don't think that it would be nice if there was an ultimate grounding. I don't know how that would actually function in terms of making the things that we believe to be true to be more true, than to give us a higher level of confidence in their truth. If there was some, it's like theists argue that, okay, there's a God, you can be confident that reason is reasonable because there is a God. But how would there being a God be a guarantee that reason is reasonable? That really, the mechanics of that has never really been explained to me. And I don't think they can. They just posit it, and they just accept that this will be the case, that if there is a God, and they say there is a God, therefore that's why we're able to have knowledge. But I think we can have knowledge. We can't have absolute certain knowledge. And Matt touched on that, on the fact that even though we can't have absolute 100% certainty, we can still hold positions to a very high degree of confidence with a lot of justification. All right, let's have a quick look at your comments. Lee Pitt, Peterson is selling mystery speak about a mystery God, promoting a mystery religion. Yeah, metaphors, parables. Well, I'd really like to see Peterson sit down with somebody like Deepak Chopra. Can you imagine what a laugh that would be? I mean, Deepak Chopra is arguing that everything in existence is like a mental construct, isn't he? Effectively, that's what he's claiming, which is where the mind over matter claim comes from. Because if everything is a mental construct, then you only have to change your thoughts to change reality. And I suppose this is what's at the heart of positive thinking, that with positive thinking, you can actually change reality. I spent ages on positive thinking, and I found that it became very tiresome and laborious and exhausting. And I was glad in the end when I could just let go of positive thinking as a sort of useful tool for anything at all. There are people who claim that things like positive thinking works. It really does. It really does work. But all you're really doing with positive thinking is what they call positive affirmations. You're parroting positive things all the time. And okay, it didn't work for me. Maybe it's worked for others. Maybe I didn't do it right. But I find that life is a bit like, what's it like? It's like, it's a bit like the waves on the surface of an ocean. They sort of go up and go down, go up and go down, and those forces have got a sort of life of their own. So you won't always be thinking positively, and I don't think that we're meant to be thinking positively all the time. If we always felt good inside, if we always sort of felt blissful inside and happy inside, and if we always had positive thoughts, we would probably never get anything done. It's because we're often in misery, it's because we often have negative thoughts, that we actually get things done, because we've got the will to do that. If you've got negative thoughts and you're feeling miserable, okay, certain people will just degenerate on the sofa and watch TV in that kind of mind frame. They'll do that, but they won't continue doing it forever, because people want to survive and they want to have positive lives. So you might sit for 3 weeks on a sofa watching Star Trek reruns or something like that, or the Kardashians or some nonsense like that for weeks, because you're in a negative mindset. But the will to live a constructive life will eventually get you off that sofa doing something, and doing something positive. So I don't think that this idea that the whole of reality is a mental construct, and if we change our thoughts we can change the world, I don't believe in any of that nonsense. And I don't believe that positive thinking is necessary, because of the way that the mind works and reality works. Positive thoughts come and go, and I don't think any of that's necessary. Okay, let's have a look. What are you saying in chat? Can we offer atheists dry tongue fruit of infinite knowledge? What the hell? Why do people come into chat and not spell words properly? I mean, I can cope with some level of misspelling in chat. I mean, I misspell myself when I'm sending text sometimes, but when every single word is completely wrong. Speedy Roman says you got to roll with the punches to get what's real. Yeah, well, I kind of, to an extent. Yeah, I mean, speaking personally about myself, I mean, I'm the kind of person, and it is a fault, that things have often with me have got to get pretty bad before I'll change them. There are some really wise people in the world who, when things start to get bad, they'll get out quickly. With me, I kind of linger and I hesitate. Shall I stay in? Shall I get out? And eventually, when things get too bad, I get out. I mean, we're all different. We've all got our own way of sort of coping with reality and experiences. So, I don't know how I got onto that. David, atheism is not my hobby, honestly. Atheism is not my hobby. It's like, look, if I was in left-wing politics, would you say that left-wing politics is my hobby? You're in left-wing politics because you want to change the world, right? It's not a hobby. And my atheism, I suppose I suppose in a way I see my atheism on the big stage as being pretty much futile. Um, I mean, the work that I do on this channel, the things that I do on this channel, I think probably in reality has minimal impact on anything at all. But people seem to enjoy listening to my ramblings now and then, and the videos that I do, and the take that I've got on the line. And in a way, I suppose it's kind of entertainment, but I at least believe that I'm on the right side, which is important to me. I've actually had thoughts about stopping doing this because, in the last few weeks, I've had certain changes in my circumstances. My financial situation has improved quite a lot. And, the money that I make on this channel, it's not really much money at all, but it has been sort of useful. And I suddenly became very demotivated to make any more videos. Honestly, in the last couple of weeks, I became really, really demotivated. And I thought that in future, I'm just going to do these live streams because I can't really justify spending all that time making those videos. And then later in the week, I thought, well, it'll be a bit of a shame if I do that. And it's a bit of a test now because the financial motivation to make those videos is no longer there. And I thought actually they'd be worth more if I make them now the financial motivation isn't there anymore. It will actually be more meaningful to make them knowing that, the money doesn't really matter to me. The money that I make out of these videos really doesn't matter. And what's more important actually is just keeping this channel going, because I started it. I've got 3,500 subscribers, and I've got people that seem to enjoy my content, so I might as well keep things going, and I kind of enjoy it, so why not? So okay, that's moving on from Jordan Peterson. Let me just read a comment that's come on. Somebody says, I presume positive thinking is just a reminder that happiness is an attitude rather than a circumstance, but it does sound a bit Pollyanna-ish. Well, we see a lot of quotes about happiness that, what do we see? We see quotes that, you can't be happy until you choose to be happy. Well, maybe yes for some people, but on the other hand, maybe not for others. There are a lot of people that want to be happy and would choose to be happy, but the circumstances in their lives are such that it's not possible. And I personally know people who have got life circumstances such that no matter how much they want to be happy and choose to be happy, it's just not possible because of the life circumstances they've got. And the only thing that's going to make them happy is if their circumstances change, something they haven't really got control over in some of the cases that I know of, and then they'll be happy. Look, I mean, it's a bit like if you're a slave working in some part of the world for nothing and you're being kept prisoner and you choose to be happy. Can you be happy if you choose to be happy and you're a slave? You haven't got your own life? No, you can't. Of course you can't. So to be happy, it's like Maslow's hierarchy, isn't it? You've got to have, what is it? You've got to have health. You've got to have shelter, food, etc. And then near the top, you've got happiness. Once you've got all the basics are satisfied, then you can have happiness. And at the apex is, I suppose, what they call self-actualization. Whatever that is, I don't know. I suppose it's different things for different people. Right. Okay, so that was Hunter. I've made very few notes on that one. And then Jackie called in with this idea of, what proves the divine will? And Jackie's claim is that the unity of consciousness proves the divine will. Well, I mean, this unity of consciousness, we've heard this kind of language from people in Eastern religion, that everything is connected. There's an interconnectedness between all things, animate and inanimate. There's this kind of spirit of consciousness which runs through the whole of existence, and it's all connected, and that this proves the divine will. Well, I think that, as Matt pointed out, no, it doesn't. And what is this thing called the unity of consciousness? And this Jackie was talking about different philosophers, and Jackie said to the host, have you heard of this philosopher? No, we haven't heard of this philosopher. And it's never really going to go well when people phone in and start quoting philosophers. It's really best if they just come in with their own argument why they personally believe in a God, and argue it from there. There's no need really to reference philosophers. You don't have to reference Kierkegaard. You don't have to reference Plato. You don't have to reference Wittgenstein, Descartes, or any of those philosophers. You really don't. But obviously the reason they do that is because they want to bolster their position. And it doesn't really work. Yeah, so Matt accused him of name dropping and word salad, which I suppose kind of what it amounted to. But I reject this idea of unity of consciousness. I mean, when I say I reject, I'm not saying that it's false. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying there's no good reason to believe that it's true. Okay, so that was another one, and we see many of these. I don't know, it seems to me that there are more and more non-Christians calling in to the line. There are many calling in with Alan Watts and Deepak Chopra and Zen, Buddhism, all these kind of claims, which to me look just as unlikely as Christianity. People are always, from what I've seen, people in religion, they're always grasping and hoping to find something where there doesn't seem to be anything at all. I don't know. It's like there's a treasure on an island, and these people who want to believe in religion have been on this island for centuries, looking and looking, and they've never found anything. And it's that, well, you've got to have faith. It's here if we just keep looking, or we don't even need to look. We can just assume that it's here because we've been told that it is here, even though we've never found it, and there's no real evidence except the claim that it's here. So that's what it looks like to me. A lot of one big pile of wishful thinking, which I see and hear of week in, week out. But I appreciate that it gives something to people. It gives hope to people. Hope for what? I don't know. Hope for an improvement in their fortunes. Hope for an improvement in the fortunes of their loved ones. Hope for maybe an afterlife, something like that, or just general hope. People want to feel this positivity about life, and I suppose that's what hope is, and that's what religion seems to promise. And if you look at the smiles on the faces of people like, is it Justin? What's his name? Is it Justin Brierley and some of his people on Capturing Christianity? If you look at the smiles on their faces, they've taken the drug. It's like Marx said. He nailed it when he said that religion is like the opium of the people. And I mean, when you take opium, it makes you smile, doesn't it? And as we've seen with Christianity and other religions, it seems to put a smile on people's faces on the whole. So, okay. And then who else phoned in? Yes. M phoned in about claiming to be an atheist, I think, and talking about how skeptical should we be about science. This is a strange kind of thing because, I mean, in a way, science is the art of skepticism applied to um, a framework of understanding the world and the way that the world and the universe works, and describing it. So it seems a bit bizarre to talk about skepticism on skepticism, because science is, by its method, a skeptical method. By gathering data, testing hypotheses, and making predictions based on theoretical frameworks, it seems to me like a very, very skeptical discipline. So talking about, I mean, if he's talking about to what extent should we trust science, well, that's another matter, because science has been wrong, and science has corrected wrong science. I mean, what else can you say? But just because science has occasionally been wrong, or just because science is capable of error, but that science ultimately has got to be used to correct science. Religion can't correct science. Science can correct religion, but religion can't correct science. Um, so I think the direction he was going in was that, so I've written down here what Matt said later during the call about maximal certainty. He was saying that, well, science is refining itself all the time. It's like with the age of the Earth, with the age of the universe. I don't know, they say started, well, it was 12 billion years, and they've gradually refined it down now, I think, to 13.8 billion years. And a theist will say, when you say, or if a theist sees a headline in the New Scientist or Nature magazine saying that scientists have now established that the universe is not 13.8 billion years old, as previously thought, but it's now 14.2 billion years old for these reasons. A lot of theists will say, you see, I told you, science is all changing itself, can't make up its mind. 1 minute it's 13.8 billion years, the next minute it's 14.2 billion years. It's changing all the time. We can't trust it. We need something which is unchanging, which is reliable. And that's why we've got God. That's why we've got religion, because it gives us truths which never change. And if something is true, it never will change. And so, in that sense, science has failed. Science is unreliable. But the problem with that is that okay, so if you take, I mean, you don't have to be the figure of let's say that the age of the universe is, let's say for the sake of argument, that it's 14.2 billion years, and this will be discovered at some point. Let's say that's the case. Now, I think that the real figure at the moment is about 13.8 billion years. The age of the universe has been estimated at 13.8 billion years using the best knowledge that science has currently got. That figure of 13.8 billion is still, even though it may not be 100% accurate, it's still a very, very useful figure. And we don't need, in science, we may not need accuracy down to a certain level to be useful. There might be some things where we can be justified in saying, well, we think that although it's 13.8 billion years, we think that this figure will change when we've got more information. You can be justified in accepting science's position on these numbers if they're not really that consequential. There are certain areas where science has got to be really accurate. For example, in aerodynamics, science has got to be really accurate. When they're making those wings and when they're estimating how much fuel an airliner will need to get from, shall we say, London to New York, the science has got to be spot on. It really does. It has to be incredibly accurate, and it is. If it wasn't, there would be planes crashing. There would be planes crashing short of the runway because they haven't got enough fuel. They haven't got the math right. So, but yeah, Matt mentioned this thing about maximal certainty, because I think that M said that, well, science doesn't give us Science doesn't give us certainty, 100% certainty on anything. I'm not sure if that's actually the case, but maybe it is. Let's say that that is the case. We haven't got 100% certainty on anything in science, but we've got what Matt would say is maximal certainty. We've got on a lot of things. We've got on a lot of scientific claims and figures, etc. We've got such a high degree of um, accuracy. He would say it's maximal certainty. It's not 100%. It's not 100% certainty, but we don't need 100% certainty. We can get away with something just short of that, and still science can work remarkably well. Good evening, Physics Police. It's good to have you here. I've been going now for 40 minutes. I'm probably going to go for about another 40 minutes and then call it a night. So I'm just getting through the calls. I've been through a few of them. Yeah, so this idea of maximal certainty, I quite like this term maximal, like maximal confidence, maximal certainty. God is maximally, talking about the conceptual scheme of what a God is. God has got maximal power. So, God can do anything which is logically possible. So I quite like this word maximal. It seems to work quite well. I think I would probably use it and say that, I've got maximal certainty. Let's not say certainty. I've got maximal confidence that there is no God. And I don't feel that because of that I'm putting a burden of proof on myself by saying that I've got maximal confidence. I'm just saying that I really, really hold the belief that there are no gods. I'm not asserting that there are no gods. If I was saying that I'm certain there are no gods, then I think that I would have a insurmountable burden of proof on my shoulders, but I'm not saying that. Okay, so let's move on. Yeah, this was a kind of interesting one. Yeah, so Brent called in with a really bizarre claim that, okay, so you know that Jesus is the light of the world. Yeah, okay, well, look, God said, let there be light. Now, in Genesis, when God said, let there be light, there was literal light. But when we talk about Jesus as the light of the world, we're not talking about literal light, are we? No, we're talking about the metaphor for truth. Yeah, that's what it is, isn't it? Jesus, the light of the world, is the truth, the way, and the life. So that's a metaphor. It's not literal. But Brent called in to say that scientists have found that when the sperm penetrates the egg, there's a micro flash of light. They've detected this. And he's claiming that this is the divine spark. At the point of conception, this is the divine spark. This is like, I presume that he means it's like a human soul being born. So this is the claim. Now, Forrest did some very good Google work, and he's a real wizard with Google. I'll give him that, because when people call him with scientific claims, he's able to pull up a scientific paper. Excuse me, getting tired. He's capable of pulling up a scientific paper and actually skimming it through, and that's quite impressive. But he looked this up, and he found that the reason there's a flash of light, a micro flash of light, which they've detected, is because there's zinc, and there's some kind of chemical reaction which is causing this. It's got absolutely nothing to do with anything supernatural. There's actually a naturalistic explanation. Okay, and then Matt asked the caller, what evidence have you got that God created this light that we see when the sperm penetrates the egg? And he said, the evidence is all around. And he said, it's faith. Well, what else? What else could it be? And then Matt went on to say to him, well, there are other religions in the world that also claim they're true by faith. For example, Hindus. And the question to Brent was, how can I know that or how do you know that your faith is faith in the true God? Because we've got Hindus claiming that they've also got faith in their gods. And his remark to that was, well, their faith is not in line with my faith. Well, I know. I mean, that's the whole point. That just begs the question. We know that. That's the whole point, that all the religions disagree with each other to an extent, to a very, very large extent, on very fundamental things. And if they're all claiming they're true purely on faith, that's the problem. How can I distinguish between, the truth of one faith and the truth of another? What is there? There has to be some other way of deciding whether a religion is true, other than that it's just on faith, because there are so many religions and there are so many faiths. So yeah. Oh yeah, Matt did say one bizarre thing. Matt often sort of puts forward a hypothetical, and in this case, he said, "Look," I think he said to Brent, "If I claim that Forrest is stupid, how can that? Oh yeah, falsifiability, of course, yeah. How can that claim be falsified, or how can I prove that claim?" Okay, now the point is this: is that Matt often uses quite insulting sort of examples. He used one with Arden. I can't remember what it was, but I was quite shocked. He uses really, in my opinion, he uses really inappropriate examples. There's no need to say, why would you have to say that? I mean, it could be, let's have the claim Forrest is a mind reader. Why does he have to use this example? Forrest is stupid, or, Arden is, I don't know, something, a narcissist or something like that. He uses horrible examples. I don't know why he does that. It's really bizarre. Okay, let's just have a quick drink of my hot chocolate. Keep the vocal cords going. Okay. Let me just quickly read what I've written here. Just excuse me a moment. Oh yeah. Yeah, Matt's often done this, because he said to Brent, he said, "Look, yeah," because he says that Jesus is with him, Jesus is behind him. And Matt said, "Well, did you pray to your Jesus before you came on this show? Because you're one of the worst representatives of Christianity that I've ever seen. And why would Jesus do that? Why would Jesus send you onto a show with so many poor arguments that you're more likely to actually drive people to atheism? Why would Jesus do that?" Yeah, good point. Oh yeah, and this was a funny one. Matt said, "Yeah," because he said, "Oh yeah, I've got a relationship with Jesus." Oh yeah, sure. And yeah, it makes me laugh when Christians say, "My relationship with Jesus is every bit as real as my relationship with you." Now it's funny, Christians will say that, and on what justification? Because I mean, the relationship which I've got with a real friend, I can touch my friend, we can look at each other, we can get information about our emotional state from our facial expressions, from the tone in our voice. We can tell each other things about each other, and it's a two-way thing. But when people say I've got a relationship with Jesus, it's only a one-way thing. You're praying to Jesus. What's coming back to you? There's nothing coming back. You can't see Jesus, can't feel Jesus, you can't talk to Jesus. Well, you can talk to Jesus, but you won't get anything back. So when Matt asked this Christian, "Does Jesus talk to you?" the answer was no. Matt said, "Why is that?" He said, "Because I'm too disobedient." If I was a Christian, And I thought the only reason that Jesus wasn't talking to me is because I was being disobedient. Don't you think that I would show a bit of obedience to get Jesus to talk to me? So yeah, okay. So that was that call. And then we had Kyle. My notes are all over the place on Kyle's call. Let's have a quick look at the comments. Yeah, physics police. Yeah, about the examples that Matt uses, I suspect those examples off the top of his head are things he's heard other people say. Yeah, physics police. You know that according to Freud, there's a Freudian angle on all this, that he's saying these things off the top of his head, but it's really strange that these things have often got quite a cruel twist in them, and that these things are not truly random that are coming from Matt. They're coming from somewhere. They're coming from his psyche, from his ego, or something. And there's something which is just strange, that these examples which come off the top of his head, I think there's something a bit more to it. I've never heard people use these examples that, oh, so-and-so is stupid. Let's see if we can disprove that. Or, oh, let's say so-and-so is a rapist. Oh, God, I shouldn't have said that word. I'm probably going to get my video deleted now because I used that word. Let's hope not. Okay, you get the point anyway. You can use examples. Why not think of some nice examples? Why think of horrible examples? Let's see. Physics police, that's my favorite gotcha. Why would God do that? Yeah. Well, that's the bizarre thing, isn't it? It's bizarre. No, I don't think that he's got. No, physics police. I don't think that I don't think he's got a rude subconscious. I think it's possibly indicative of something a bit more serious than that. But look, I mean, that's just, I admit, it's pure speculation on my part. But I've noticed these Freudian slips. I've noticed them in myself, and I usually, if I'm writing an email to somebody or I'm talking to somebody, and I use the wrong word, I use a word that has got completely a meaning which is inappropriate and just shouldn't be there at all. I'll often think about that word and think, well, why did I say that? That's come from somewhere, and you can often trace it to where it's come from and relate it to your own circumstances and your own sort of subconscious. I don't know physics police. I don't think it's about him having a rude subconscious. I'll have a think about it and let you know next time where I think it's potentially coming from. But it's coming from the same place that his anger outbursts are coming from, I suspect. Because let's be honest, Matt has got anger management issues, and people who've got anger management issues, that tends to come from some level of personality disorder. I'm not qualified really to comment on it, and I probably shouldn't be commenting on it, but because I've known people with actual personality disorders and I've observed them, then I've got some sort of experience in these things. Okay, so yeah, I mean, it doesn't mean that look, there's no other show that could possibly host Matt and where we can see Matt in all his glory. There's no other show on the internet besides The Line and his own channel that would host Matt. There just isn't, because of his style. That's just the way that it is. And I've noticed over the years that he wasn't like this 15 years ago. It's been a gradual process. It seemed to have got particularly worse in the last sort of 4 or 5 years, I've noticed. But I've probably been watching too much of Matt over the years. And of course, he's been watching nothing of me. And I know that if he was watching this now, he'd probably say to me, Stuart, you fake unrepentant atheist, you 2-bit YouTuber, you don't know me. You only see me on screen for 2 or 3 hours a week, and you presume to know me on that basis. No, well, I agree. I agree with Matt. I don't know Matt. I don't know, what he's really like as a person, because I've never spent time with him on a one-to-one. And I suspect that if I spent time with him on a one-to-one, that I would get on very well with him. But people have got triggers, and Matt's going to get on well with me because I'm an easy person to get on with, and because we've probably got a very similar worldview. And I mean, that's all fine. But people have got triggers. I've got a trigger. Matt's got a trigger. He's mostly nice, courteous, and polite when he's on the line, but he's being judged on when things are not going well and when he's being triggered. And you could argue that that should be the case because, for example, if you've got a policeman that by and large is doing a good job, and then he deliberately kills a suspect, he's rightly going to be judged on killing that suspect. So we tend to be judged on the worst things that we do, not the best things that we do, which in most cases is probably necessary and justified. So, but we don't see Eric from Skepticism and Scoundrels, we don't see Pelagia, we don't see anybody else with these temper outbursts. So it's fair to say that his inability to control his temper is coming from a place within himself that most people haven't got, and it's connected with his personality, his development, his childhood. It's a very complex thing. So yeah, I won't get into psychoanalyzing Matt anymore. I'm sure that there are people out there that can do it better than I can. Yeah, but just to say one final thing on this physics police, that yeah, this thing about these nasty examples are coming from the same place as is anger. That's my deduction. Whether it's right or wrong, I don't know. Okay, so Kyle, yeah. What was he talking about? Yeah, he was saying that he seemed to be calling in and saying, what are the pros and cons of religions? And I mean, his main point is that he's a Christian. Oh, yeah, he's a Christian, of course, and for him, Christianity is true. Yeah, and all the other religions are cons. Yeah, sorry, that's what it is. Yeah, okay. All the other religions are cons. And Matt made the point that, yeah, no, Matt made that point to Kyle because Kyle's claiming, okay, Christianity is true. And why can't you atheists accept that? And Matt said to him, presumably, you don't believe in all the other religions. You don't believe in Islam. You don't believe in Hinduism, etc. And Kyle said, no, I don't. That's true. And Matt said to him, quite correctly and cleverly, I thought, so to you, all those religions would be cons, wouldn't they? And Kyle said, well, yeah, that's probably the case. And Matt said, well, it's the same for us, but we add one more religion to that list. And in that list is also Christianity. To us, that's also a con, just to make him realize that, well, he's got something in common with Matt. What he's got in common with Matt is that he also believes that all those religions are cons, like Islam is a con. Matt believes that as well. But where they part is that there's one religion that Kyle believes is true and is not a con, and Matt thinks is a con. So, oh yeah, I thought this was good. Yeah, so he was talking about, Kyle was talking about the fact that, about Christian love and everything, and Matt asked Kyle something to the extent, have you personally found love in Christianity? And he said no, but he said I wrote it down here. He said he found the reflection of love. He found the reflection of love that he can give to others. Yeah. So I suppose that in Jesus Christ, he found this blazing light from Jesus, this all-loving light from Jesus. He got the reflection from Jesus of all this universal love and divine love. He's seen that, he's felt it, he's got it, and he now feels that he can pass that on to others. So, um, how often have we heard that from Christians? All the time, I think. And that's the bizarre thing, because, I mean, this point a lot of people make that there's no hate like Christian love. I don't know. I mean, speaking personally, I don't want Christian love, and I don't want love from people. Well, I mean, just generally, I don't want people loving me. I mean, that really sounds bizarre, but I'd be really worried if I went out onto the streets and a man came up to me and said, "Brother, praise Jesus, I love you." And he put his arms around me. I'd probably knee him between the legs and give him a good thump, push him over and get him off me. No, I don't want all this damned Christian love. I don't want all this human love. I want to be left alone. I don't want all that. I've got a select group of people in my life that I've got love from and that I've got love for. That's enough for me. We don't need all this lousy Christian love. We really don't need it. It's just one big pain in the neck. And all they're doing, all these Christians spreading their so-called love around. And I'll tell you something, those loving smiles that you see, they'll soon, if you say the wrong thing to them, like, I don't believe in Jesus or anything like that, those the corners of the mouth soon drop. They won't be smiling at you. They'll be going home and praying that you reap what you sow. That's the real Christian love. I mean, that's what I think of when I think of Christianity. I don't really think so much of Christian love and the abundance of love. I think about judgment. How about you guys? Is that what you? I mean, that's one of the reasons a lot of people are running away from Christianity, because of all the judgment. And Christianity is a very judgmental religion. That's the whole essence of Christianity, is judgment and Judgment Day. It's not love at all. I mean, I can accept love thy neighbor as a general guide, which means not that we literally love our neighbors, but that if we see people in need, we try to help them. That's a manifestation of, I would just say it's a manifestation of human decency. Christians would say something else. They would say that it's God working through you. Yeah, I suppose the Christians would put it like that. To me, it's just common humanity. But the incitement to actively love all other human beings, in my opinion, is just completely ignores what human nature is, that we principally love our own first. We love our own flesh and blood, and then we love a small group of people around us that we've chosen, and everybody outside of that group, as with me, you've got goodwill towards them. You don't have to love them. You've got goodwill towards them unless they prove that they're not worthy of that goodwill. For example, if I see a random person on the street, say I see a man walking down the street, I see him every day, I smile to him, we say good morning, I'll have goodwill towards that person. I mean, not active goodwill, just general sort of, general good feeling. I hope that person gets on in life. That could change. If I found out that person had, just recently committed some horrible act, maybe tortured and killed an animal or something, or anything like that, then my feeling of goodwill to that person would change. It would no longer be there. And in some cases, I might even feel ill will towards somebody. That's just human nature. Christianity would tell you, don't hate your enemies. It's destructive. And maybe it is, but it ignores human nature. And I think that hate is probably something which became useful on a sort of evolutionary level, that if you love your enemies, you leave yourself open to being killed by them. If you hate them, you're going to protect yourself and look over your shoulder. You're more likely to survive. So hate is actually quite a useful thing. Don't underestimate the usefulness of hate, really. Okay, yeah, I suppose people would say now that I'm the atheist who's preaching hate. Well, no, listen to what I'm saying. Okay, let me just have a quick look to see what your comments are. Yong says religiosity is highly correlated with genetic health and group unity. Yeah, listen, Jong Yong, I'm sorry. I'm not good at pronouncing Chinese names. I agree with you, or at least I've seen these studies too, and I acknowledge that religion can provide for people a lot of useful things. It can provide them with purpose. It can provide them with community. It can provide them with connections. It can make them more confident because they think, for example, if they believe in a God, this God is looking out for them. It can be very useful. And it can actually even help a society to prosper. If you've got people going around believing effectively like they're carrying a magic charm with them, of course they're going to do better than people who don't believe that they've got that advantage. But that's not what interests me as an atheist. What interests me is whether it's actually true, not whether it's useful. Yeah, I mean, I've personally seen it firsthand how useful and how good Christian communities can be. I've been going to church every Sunday now for the last 9 months since I met my partner, just because she's a Christian, and I've seen at first hand how kind of useful those Christian communities can be for each other, and indeed as a sort of community hub. And it's all useful, and it's mostly good as well. I mean, obviously, when people are not judging you for being, say, a homosexual or something like that, or which I haven't really seen much evidence of, by the way. It seems to be fine. I've got nothing wrong to say about it, except that the theology is absolute bloody nonsense. And the things that they're saying in church about Jesus being the salvation and that original sin needs to be cleansed, and that Jesus is the means by which that is done, and that eternal life is the goal for the flock on earth, that is all absolute nonsense. I don't believe that any of it's true. But I mean, what they're doing in the community, I think, is absolutely fine. It's just a pity that he's got all this theological baggage attached to it. Okay, so let's have a look at your comments. The loving people would get cross with him for his questions. Call you a Debbie Downer. What's that? Okay, I don't know what that means. Hello from Canada. Yep. Hello, Marty P. Thank you for producing. Yeah. By the way, I lived in Canada as a child. I mean, just briefly, I'll just tell you. My parents were globetrotters in the 60s. They were going all over the place. Yeah, we lived in Canada for 4 years. We lived in Vancouver. And for some reason, my parents decided we were going to go and live in Australia. They tried Canada. It didn't work for them. I don't know why. It was a superb country at that time. I don't know about now, but Vancouver, loved living there. When I was a child, got a lot of great memories. Then we went to Australia, but yeah. So yeah, hello to Marty P in Canada. Okay, so let me just see if I've got any. Oh yeah, this was another funny thing about Kyle, because Matt said, how do you know that that your religion's the right one and everything? And Kyle said, don't worry, I'm on the winning team. Well, of course, anybody from any religion would say that, wouldn't they? That's the whole point in it. Everybody believes that they're on the winning team. And I suppose in a way, I believe that I'm on the winning team with my not believing in any God, except that in my case, I've got no prize to look forward to, have I? Because if you're a Christian, then being on the winning team means you're going to win the gold medal. And the gold medal, in the case of Christianity, is eternal life, isn't it? In heaven. And in my case, being on the winning team, there's no gold medal. There's nothing. There's nothing at the end of this race. Just eternal darkness, and not even that. Just like being asleep without dreaming and never waking up. So yeah, I've joined a team which is a pretty much thankless team for which there's no real reward at the end of it, except the belief that I'm right in following this skeptical path that I'm following. So yeah, Pascal's wager then, yeah, he believes he's on the winning team. And I suppose that if there is an afterlife with a God, then by being an atheist, you're immediately ruling yourself out of at least having a chance of being on the winning team. Because let's say that the reality is that there is a God up there and that one of the main religions is true. A monotheistic religion is actually true. If you're an atheist, you rule yourself out. You don't even give yourself a chance that that's going to be the case. You've got the wrong color of raffle ticket. Never mind. You're not even going to have the right number. You've got the wrong color. In raffles, they usually have different book colors. And let's say that one of these colors is never going to come up, is never going to be selected because they decide not to include it in the basket. And you've got, say, red, and they've not put the red tickets into the basket. You're an atheist. You're not even going to go into the lottery. You've got no chance. Whereas if you're a theist, you've got your theist raffle ticket, goes into the basket. You've at least got a chance of being picked out. But as an atheist, no. It's a thankless position to hold because, if it's true that there's no God, then I suppose my prize will be that I was right, but I won't have the satisfaction of saying that to other theists because I'll be dead. There'll be no me to be right, will there? So from that point of view as well, yeah, it's a thankless position to hold, except that I believe it's the right position. Okay, so okay, and then Matt went on to say that why would you want to go to heaven, or how do you know that heaven is a better place than hell? Well, I suppose by some of the depictions in the Bible. I'm not sure how is hell described in the Bible. Is it not just described as a burning place? Is it not implied that it's a place where the wicked, the non-believers, or those who did not follow Christ will go? In contrast to heaven. I'm not too sure about that, but it's a good question. It's presumed that hell is the worst place to go. I know that I've seen some depictions of hell which show, I don't know, a lot of fornication going on, a lot of, in The Exorcist, in the film The Exorcist, when the child who's possessed by a demon or the devil is taunting the young priest, and she's saying to the priest, I shouldn't really say this, but anyway, I will say it. It's a quote from the film, "Your mother sucks cocks in hell." There, I've said it. She says that to the priest like it's, and the priest is thinking, oh my God, my mother's fallen. She's not in heaven sitting at the feet of Jesus playing a harp. She's actually in hell with, I don't know, sexual deviants from the real life that were cast into hell because of the way they behaved in life, and she's there servicing those men in hell. And I don't know. It might not be the worst possible fate. Let me just say that it's a better fate than actually, I would think, I would think it's a better fate than burning in the flames. So, yeah. So, I mean, if look, I mean, if hell is all debauchery and sex and everything and all, then I'd obviously rather be there than be playing a harp, sitting in the clouds with Jesus. I mean, anybody with any good common sense would rather be there than in heaven, because heaven sounds to me like dead boredom. I'd probably rather be in hell, as long as it's not the burning flames hell. Let me just look at your comments. Saturday Night Live, the TV show, had a character in a skit called Debbie Downer, who was pessimistic and adds bad news, information, and negative comments to people having fun. Oh, that sounds quite interesting. I'll look that up. I like that kind of thing. Physics police. It may be thankless in that sense, yes, but I thank you nonetheless. Watching your videos, I feel a tiny bit less alone. Yeah, thank you for that comment, Physics Police. Yes, well, I suppose in a way that's why I started my channel. I felt like maybe reaching out to the atheist community a bit, but in a way that went beyond just simply leaving snarky comments to theists, to smug theists on atheist experience videos. Yeah, I decided to sort of go one step further and start a channel. And I like the two-way sort of feedback that I get. Okay, so let's have a look. What else has came from Kyle? Oh yeah. Okay, so it was pointed out that there's a lot of rubbish in the Bible. There's slavery and there's stuff like that. And how do you square that? How do you live with that if you're a Christian? And he says that he looks past the bad things. And Matt made a good point. I can't remember exactly what example he used in this case, but he said that if he's got friends, you say he's got a friend and he likes this friend, his friend's a good person, but if he suddenly found out that the friend was a child murderer, he wouldn't be able to look past the bad thing. And yeah, absolutely. I mean, it may well be that Hitler, if you exclude his anti-Semitism and his murderous ways, it may well be that Adolf Hitler was an okay person to spend time with. Who knows? I don't know. And that if you subtract all the evil stuff that he did, you could look past the bad things that he did and say, oh, well, actually, Adolf Hitler was an okay guy. So, but that's what they're doing with the Bible, aren't they? Because you've got this God who is a jealous God and has got questionable moral standards, it has to be said, seems to sanction slavery and murder in certain circumstances. So what do you do with that? Yeah, you look past the bad things. You pretend they're not there, which is exactly what happens in the church that I go to. They have readings every week. You know something? They've got their readings every week. I won't do this, but as a joke, I'll say it. You can apply to go up and read your favorite verses. You can go up and in front of the congregation, 300 people, you can read your favorite verse and then you can tell an anecdote which relates to that verse. Well, maybe I'll take that chapter from Exodus about slavery and I'll stand up and I'll say, these are my favorite verses. Somehow I don't think I'll do that, but yeah, I mean, nobody ever references the bad bits of the Bible in the church that I go to. Never. Yeah, it's all the Good Samaritan. It's all about how wise King Solomon was. And it's all about how much people love God and how they trusted in God and had faith in God and how God came good for them and all this kind of stuff. Is none of they just look past all the bad stuff. Right. Okay, so that was Kyle. Let me just flip this over and see if there was anything else. Let's have a look. Oh yeah. Okay, and then oh yeah, this was a crazy call. I hate it. I absolutely hate it. Steve's call. Yeah, excuse me. Steve's call. Steve called in and he immediately started talking about, he was using a lot of language that sounded to me like graduate level biology. Okay, postgrad biology sounded like, quite advanced biology. He was talking about peptides and nucleotides, and all sorts of stuff. And the way that this was going, if essentially, was that there's been a paper that's been written by two scientists who claim, or it seems that they claim, that the genetic code had to have been invented by extraterrestrials. It couldn't have evolved naturally. And they presented a rationale for this, a scientific rationale. It seems that it's had very little traction. Forrest did a brilliant job of looking it up. He found the paper superbly well. I think he went on to ResearchGate. He found the paper, and you could actually see him skimming through it. He was reading the extract very, very quickly. I could see that he was looking for a way to kind of get to grips with this and kind of debunk it a bit. But the best thing that he did really was to say that it's only been cited 3 times in the last 10 years or something, which, I mean, for an academic paper is absolutely nothing. It means that nobody's taking it seriously. And yeah, okay, so as Forrest said, there are real biologists out there who deny the theory of evolution, and just because there are academics out there who make these claims, it doesn't make them true. But okay, so that didn't really go anywhere, because it looked like he had a script in front of him and he was just reading out from that. He was just reading out from that study, and it didn't really amount to anything. Okay, so then there was another call asking, what was this about? Oh yeah, this was a bizarre one. I absolutely, sometimes people call in pretending to be atheists so that they can push a theist agenda. You've all seen it. We've seen it. We've seen it before. I've seen people. I always get suspicious when somebody leaves a comment saying, "Look, I'm an atheist, but," oh yeah. Why is it necessary to mention that you're an atheist? Just state your point. State your point. I mean, whether you're an atheist or a theist lends no more nor less credibility to what you're going to argue or any evidence that you're going to present. Just present the evidence. Don't preface it by saying that you're either a theist or an atheist. So this guy calls in. He says he's an atheist, and he's wondering what's better, annihilation or universalism. So annihilation is, like the complete. You either go to heaven, or there's just complete death. There's no hell. Or universalism, which everybody goes to heaven. And which one is better? Yeah, Greg's call. Okay. Now, this was bizarre because, I mean, if you're an atheist and you believe this is just a fairy tale, why would this be important to you? And as Matt said, that he doesn't waste time talking about who's going to win, Batman or Superman. He doesn't waste time talking about these things because he doesn't believe that they're real. Although, actually, I think there's a case to be made for that is actually something more real to talk about than speculation on, whether heaven or everybody going to heaven, or heaven or death is preferable, or what kind of scheme might there be depending on if there is a God. I mean, why would an atheist discuss that? An atheist doesn't believe that there is a God, so it's pure. It's not even conjecture. It's worse than that. It's completely empty speculation. I mean, it would be like me I mean, I don't believe in ghosts. It'd be like me talking about the different types of ghosts on Ghostbusters, or let's supposing that ghosts are real, what do you think they can do? How do they manifest? Do they leave anything behind? I mean, why would I talk about that if I don't believe in ghosts? So Greg comes on claiming to be an atheist, and he's talking about, what if there is a God, and what if it's annihilation or universalism? And I mean, why would he care? Okay, so I don't think that Greg is. I think Greg is probably a theist. I don't really see why an atheist would want to call in and talk about things like that. Okay, well, actually, that's about it. Yeah, that's everything, guys. So I've been going for 1 hour, 25 minutes. So I'm going to sign off in a couple of minutes. If you've got anything to say in chat, you can say it now. It's getting late here. Oh my God, it's nearly 1 o'clock. I don't believe it. So yeah, I'll be going to bed in about 5 minutes. So if you've got anything, let me just have a look at your comments. Physics Police says it may be. Yeah, okay. Jobin, looking past the bad things sounds like confirmation bias out loud. Dade Murphy, subscribe. Thank you, Dade. Thank you for subscribing. Good night, Physics Police. Jobin, thank you for tuning in. It's been a pleasure to have you all here. So yeah, I'll be back hopefully next Monday night, and I will still be doing videos. I know I said I was going to stop doing them, but no, I'll keep them going. I'm going to do two videos a week from the line, and I'll do a couple of conversion videos a week, hopefully, and then anything else that sort of occurs to me. So in the meantime, good night to all, or wherever you are. If you're at the start of the day, hope you have a nice day. If you're halfway through the day, hope you have a great remainder of the day. Okay, bye for now.